I can put it up on.
It should be in the agenda pack. We want to write through the packet like we
Yeah,
did last time.
did you send it to me though?
Not you specifically, it's in your agenda packet.
I didn't, I'm on my computer here, so I need you to send it to me.
Well, it's on iCompass. So, I mean, I've got, are you not on iCompass? And opening up the agenda packet where you can just project from there? That's what I thought you did last time.
Let me give it a try.
Sure.
Jay, you could go to the township website and they have the agenda package on the township website under planning commission.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
that's where I am right now. I'm doing the same thing. I'm going.
You want that? I took one of the sheets. Copy. Use that.
And then also, Ken, is there a button on the TV I have to turn on?
There's a remote. It only turns on by remote if I remember right.
Oh,
You want to share mine?
that one. No.
No. No, just if you
If
have
there's something-
struggle following.
Okay. No. 30 minutes. So what's the purpose of very glad of it? And you just. Popcorn.
You got it?
There's really much.
With that, they would be an important voice. Oh.
So we're about ready to call it.
Something I'm thinking.
When you're ready.
You want to keep talking about the channel?
The finding of facts will go through, that you'll have to go back and forth, you know.
Okay,
Just
yeah,
that one time, and that's the beginning,
okay.
okay? So just let me know when you're ready, take your time.
How can I make this full screen?
No, I'm counting on you, Jay. Are you even projecting right now? Detecting device.
Yeah, it says detecting the button.
He's trying to get the projection going and then we'll get started.
There we go.
There you go. Looking good. Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. Voila. So you might want to just get the findings of facts.
You want that now?
Yeah, we're gonna go to that pretty quickly after we approve the minutes. I don't know that we have to show the minutes, not the screen. Just might be easier just to start with next week. It's up to you.
Okay.
Okay, all right. All right, we're gonna call the meeting to order. It's 7 o'clock, 7:01. We'll start with a roll call, please. Jay Foskey,
Here.
Ken Spicer,
Here.
Dave Marcelletti,
Here.
Kate Schrank here, so we have a quorum. So pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first item of business is to approve our agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda, or are there any suggested changes?
I'll make a motion, we approve the agenda as it is.
I'll second that.
Thank you. I'll say aye. Aye.
Alright,
And our second item is to approve last month's minutes. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes, or is there a need for any change?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, I'll second.
I'll say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Okay. Before we get to the main part of our evening together, are there any public comments? You'll have 2 times to make public comments, both before we go through our finding of facts on the PUD, which will be our first item of business tonight, and then later on in the evening. So is there anything that anybody wants to say that isn't going to be covered in the agenda as we move through it?
Well, I'm Jeff Postma. I just want to make a comment about the planned unit development. And kind of reiterate what was stated at the meeting last month, that, you know, we feel that this is a violation of the anti-funneling. There's a threat to water quality, septic system risk, the increased water traffic, and which goes along with our water quality. We have loss of quiet enjoyment, loss of habitat, and then too many users for a small space. I think those were all the things that were mentioned at the last meeting. And I'm president of the Satellite Property Owners Association, and as president of that, and we as an association oppose that planned unit development.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Karen?
On the short-term rental, I understand both sides of it and trying to balance it. There may be some people that are more or less casual renters to offset their property taxes, but there are others that are really commercial entities by most definitions. Enforcement could become an issue depending on how this goes. Responding to complaints maybe would be a way to handle enforcement. I would have a big objection to people that are renting out on a full-time basis to also getting principal residence exemption. I'm not sure if that occurs, but I think that should be checked. Possibly a higher tax rate since it's commercial. We live near 2 rentals, and when we get to that point, if you want any examples of things good or bad that happen, we can give you those. Jeff didn't mention it, but I believe the SLOPA is going to present a guest and renter guideline suggestion. At the Satellite Property Owners meeting, but it might be something. shared.
Yep. So we have just to reiterate what the rules of the lake are, and recommendation for, you know, quiet enjoyment and light pollution. So we just have a pamphlet that we're putting together so that renters can have that.
So we're gonna be covering short-term rentals, it's pretty thoroughly tonight, so, you might want to public comment again if we don't cover what you're bringing up. But we are set to cover this in the agenda. Did you have anything else that's not on the agenda already?
Well, it's on the agenda. Williams and Works, I see that there was a quote in there,
Mhm.
and I was just wondering how you found that entity.
Okay,
If you got references or any competing bids. And I know you've got parks on there, which I'm sure you're thinking grants. But given that the rest of our budget is in trouble for the maintaining of it after the fact. And I feel like we can't really look at that right now, but grants can come first. And on the budget that you guys had for the planning commission, it did look like you could probably lower the ZA salary. Not because there's anything wrong with Tasha, because she bills very fairly. The high amount that was in there from a prior year was actually from that. So if you look at that, the line items, I don't think our current is running that high. And I noticed your printing and publishing was quite high this time too, and maybe that's in anticipation of something, master plan or something else, but it looked like it jumped up quite a bit, so just wondering about that.
thank you. Anything else?
I submitted some written comments. I'm happy to make a few comments in addition.
Is this on the PUD?
On the short-term rental.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sure. Can we get to that in the agenda? Is that,
Yes.
would that be all right?
If you'd rather, I wait.
I would, yeah, this part of the public comment is to address issues that are not in the agenda. And we're prepared for tonight, so why don't we get into it? And if we don't answer your questions, we'd be happy to hear what you have to say. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. The first thing we're going to do is, go,
You did actually, this is where you would put in written correspondence. Also, correspondence received,
not yet, in short, down under short-term rentals.
it says communications received, public comment / communications received.
Where are you? I'm on the,
Number F on the agenda.
in terms of, okay, the public comments that I received on short-term rentals, I have under short-term rentals.
Okay.
That's okay. Did you have something else in mind?
No, I just wanted to make sure they were put in the.
They are there. See under G2? They're attached. I was gonna go over them there.
Just see the PowerPoint and.
Yeah, the land, we have a complaint and we have some comments. We'll go over them, and if I'm in error, you can let me know. Okay, moving on to the plan unit development and our findings of facts. If you recall at the hearing last month, we made a decision, we had our own sense of things, that there was a problem with the PUD because it was likely considered a short-term rental under, Michigan Court's interpretation of that. Short-term rentals are considered commercial properties. That's what the Michigan courts were saying. And knowing that, we were pretty certain that the zoning ordinances didn't support commercial use in a residential development, but we wanted to check with the township attorney to make sure that we were correct, and not make any errors. And so, we've got the attorney's advice, and, I'm ready, we have a findings of facts in front of us, and it's on the screen here, and we're just gonna go through it. Okay?
Pete, I have a conflict of interest. I'm within 300 feet of the parcel in question.
Okay, so that means,
I will not be participating in this.
okay. So Ken won't vote, all right? But we have a quorum, the three of us will. So I'm just gonna read it. I'll try to be as snappy as I can, and summarize. On July 9th, the Columbia Township Planning Commission held a special use hearing for a PUD on Saddle Lake, owned by Saddle Lake Trust. I'm paraphrasing here a little bit, which includes significant wetland frontage. The applicant proposed that glamping development, on R2 resident, resort parcel, which it features 13,720 square foot short-term rental units on a 9.7 acre parcel. Plans include 3 A-frames to access Saddle Lake and 10 domes, each with their own foundation, HVAC, bathroom, and kitchen. The applicant requested a special use permit for its PUD plan to mix commercial use in the R2 residential zone. We have findings of fact on that introduction. Number one, Michigan courts in fact do typically view short-term rentals as commercial uses. And we took this into account as we reached our additional findings of fact. So everybody clear about that? Under Michigan court, not so much on the face of our zoning regs, but how the courts interpret residential zoning regs. They also interpret short-term rentals as commercial uses. And unless our ordinances expressly allow it, the court wouldn't make us put a commercial use in. They would respect our wish to keep it residential. So the first thing we have to look at as a planning commission, we can't just make up our mind because everybody wants something. We have to actually follow the law. And for the planning commission, we have to follow the master plan. And then we look at the zoning ordinances. So in this case, we looked at the master plan. There are 5 goals in the master plan. It's our opinion, our finding that 3 of the master goal plans are not met by the PUD. Number 1, the goal is to preserve a natural and peaceful environment. And the applicant has not shown that that would be the case with these 13 units. For example, 3 of the 13 units would have access to the lake, yet the applicant did not explain how lake access would be enforced or restricted with no on-site manager. 2, the project is adjacent to substantial wetlands, but lacks an explanation of any measures that would be implemented to protect these areas. This is particularly important since these areas, the 13 domes would have septic systems right next to a wetland. Number 3, the proposed project would increase traffic on roads and fire lanes, but the applicant provided no background or impact study on what would happen to those roads. Number 4, the applicant did not explain how the project aligns with nearby residential properties, noise, safety, and congestion, or how this development would impact property values. Number 5, the planning commission finds that the master plan does not support project approval because comprehensive analysis of community and environmental impacts have not been conducted. That's one finding. On goal 1. Goal 2 of the master plan focuses on commercial development in our township. And what residents want is adequate infrastructure in commercial developments and updating our zoning maps to support commerce, but preserve the natural landscape. So we look at the township's current map and also the township's future map, which you can find in the master plan. And you'll see that for a long time, and also for future reference, Saddle Lake is zoned R2 resort, and there's no anticipation, no plan to change that. On the other hand, we have identified very specific commercial uses in our current and in our future zoning map, which have many forested areas, which would be a wonderful place perhaps for a camping ground to go that is a commercial use. So while we are not going to be able to approve this tonight as we move through the findings, at least we are saying that there is an area in our township that is zoned commercial. So if someone else wants to locate a campground in our township, they might want to look at the commercial area, would be more suitable. The final goal in the master plan that is not met by this application is goal number 4. So in our master plan, we've decided we want planned residential zones. And what that means is we want more affordable housing. We want housing that keeps residential density low, but also smaller homes and ways for people to live less expensively. The planning commission finds that goal 4 just doesn't support project approval because it's directly contradictory to the township's interests. It promotes transient rental housing, not permanent, non-transitory housing. So the 3 goals of the master plan support our finding that the proposed project does not meet the master plan goals of the township. Moving on to the zoning ordinances that apply to this project. There are 3. Section 302, residential resort. As I mentioned already, this project is on Saddle Lake, which is zoned R2 residential. And on the face of the regulation itself, the ordinance itself, just the way it reads, we don't have to make it up. It just does not support commercial use. It's clearly for family, single family and 2-family homes. And it does also allow small child care and adult foster care facilities with an occupancy of 6. So those are permitted uses. For special uses under R2, they are limited to churches, schools, and utilities. So section 3.02 that defines what residential resort is simply does not support a commercial development like this on the face of the ordinance. And so we conclude that a short-term glamping development is neither an allowed or a special use under section 302. Moving on, there's another ordinance section 4.13. This section applies to special use hearings and how they're supposed to be conducted. Maybe some of you were here last month. But one thing that was completely lacking from the applicant's application was anything that looked like a commercial or environmental impact statement. And that is actually required under section 4.13, special land uses. It requires an applicant to submit comprehensive community impact statements that evaluate the impact of the adjacent land and buildings, and also wetland degradation, noise, traffic, and incompatibility with the residences were there. And the applicant made no attempt to address the community and environmental concerns that were raised. Had they done that, we might be in a different position, but they didn't. And then finally, section 4.15, which is the planned unit development ordinance, that also does not support commercial development. It is a residential ordinance. The PUD was formed by this township to support more affordable housing. The master plan, or actually the zoning ordinance actually says, like young married couples, like senior citizens, like people that just want a smaller imprint. So again, on the face of ordinance 4.15 called planned unit development, it's clear that this township intends it to be a residential development, not a transitory rental development. So for that reason, we also conclude that the project is not compliant with section 4.15 for PUD developments. So after reviewing the application, all the evidence, attending the hearing, looking at our ordinances and receiving legal advice from our township council, I'm moving that the Columbia Township Planning Commission finds that the Saddle Lake Trust Plan Unit Development application does not comply with the township master plan or relevant zoning ordinance criteria, including sections 3.02, 4.13, and 4.15. And the planning commission therefore moves to deny the application. Do we have some,
Second.
yeah, do we want to take a minute to discuss this? And any questions, concerns that we have among ourselves? I'll be quiet.
Well, I think that covered it, plus what I'm concerned with the most is what the people of the community want, and it was real clear that the people of the community did not want this. And that carries a whole lot of weight with me. That actually carries more weight.
I agree.
Okay, that's right.
Oh, you can see.
Okay, I agree with, I agree with the comments. I will say this, that just going forward, we may have a situation like this come again. And I just finished my training for this position, this chair, and one thing I learned going through the training, we can't make a decision based on a raise of hands. We have to make a decision that's based on the law. And I agree with Dave, it was overwhelming that the community didn't want it. But it's also true that the community, that the issues of the community with noise and environmental issues and so on simply weren't addressed by the applicant, which is a failure under 4.13. Are there any other questions or comments? So does somebody want to read a motion for me and we can take a vote? And it has to be name call.
I thought you already made them.
You want to read it again? Make-
Um,
Just go ahead, just for formality, make a motion. Jacobson.
Okay, after reviewing the application evidence, public hearing input, the township master plan and zoning ordinance, and legal advice, the Columbia Township Planning Commission finds that the Saddle Lake Trust Land Unit Development application does not comply with the township master plan or relative zoning ordinance criteria, including sections 3.02, 4.13, and 4.15. The planning commission therefore moves to deny the application.
I'll second.
So let's take a roll call vote. Jay? Yep, yes or no?
No.
Dave?
No is a correct.
Actually, it's yes. We plan to move, deny the application.
Yes.
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 Dave Marcelletti, yes. Kate Schrank, yes. So it's unanimous. So I'm gonna let you do that. Okay. All right. Okay, the next item of business is short-term rentals. Can we move along to that?
Mhm.
So here, Tosh is correct, we did receive some communication. So by way of backdrop, we have been talking about short-term rentals at the planning commission level for a couple months now. And each of us have done some research on our own to understand what other townships around us are doing. We've let the word get out to the public that we're thinking about this, and we did get some comments. We also got a complaint. So why don't we start there? We have a complaint. Can you click on that?
Which one?
It says complaint under short-term rentals, the very last one says complaint.
Oh.
So the complaint by Anna and Mario Vishnikova. And they are concerned because they have a neighboring Airbnb. And they've had a lot of problems this summer with how the property is being used. And they're stating that in their opinion, R2 Resort is a zoning violation to have a short-term rental in R2 Resort. And then they have some issues with a common easement, which is not something that we can handle. That's not a zoning issue. That's a legal issue that he'll need to handle with a lawyer probably. That's a contract issue potentially. But I believe Tasha is getting back to him on that issue specifically. And I am sorry, I just got a copy of your complaint and I see it was dated July 3rd.
Yes.
I'm deeply sorry. I don't know why it took so long to get to us. That must have been frustrating, and I just want to acknowledge that we're aware of that, and we'll try to rectify that that doesn't happen again. I'm sorry. We also got comments from Jeff and Elaine Sobel, so that would be the second clip. Yeah, at the right above
Township power plant, power
the
plant?
third one. There you go, comments, yeah. So I'm not gonna read the whole letter. Mr. Jeff and Elaine Sobel own a unit, a short-term rental unit on Saddle Lake. They say for several years, our focus has been on providing a high-quality rental experience for multi-generational families seeking peaceful and memorable vacation experiences. And we prioritize our respect for immediate neighbors by providing them a 24/7 access to us by phone for any concerns they may have. Our bookings are only accepted after carefully vetting all inquiries to ensure guests will be respectful and considerate of the neighborhood, and disruptive events like weddings, parties, fireworks, or excessive noise are simply not, they're prohibited. They focus on a family environment that fits in with the community. And then they go on from there to make their case that they want to preserve short-term rentals, but they also agree that there's a way to do it where people's rights are respected. This letter is in our agenda packet. I don't have to read the whole thing, do I? Ken? You know, Ben?
I
Ken?
don't think so.
I don't have to read the whole thing, do I? Okay, so we have a complaint against short-term rentals and we have owner saying, now wait a minute. So, that's our world. And, now I'm gonna go on to, PowerPoint that I put together. So the top line, short-term rentals for nearby townships, and just give you a little bit of background on what I've learned, and Ken, feel free to chime in because you've done some of this research too. Ken went a little beyond our township. I looked at the 9 adjacent townships immediately around us, and I looked at all of them to find out, do they regulate short-term rentals or don't they? We have 9 adjacent townships around us. Of the 9, 5 do not regulate short-term rentals at all. Just nothing. 4 do. And of those 4, 1 is a zoning ordinance, but the other 3 are what we call police power ordinances. Where the ordinance is written to say, for the purpose of general welfare, health, and safety, we're gonna regulate short-term ordinances or short-term rentals. So South Haven Township, Casco Township, Bloomingdale Township, you can go to the next page. The second, right there, you probably can't read it, it's in your packet. Casco Township, Bloomingdale Township, and South Haven Township. All 3 have what we call police power ordinances, where for the general health and safety of the community, we're gonna regulate short-term rentals. And then they all do it about the same way. They require an annual licensing fee, and that's what this matrix shows, is what do these townships require? They require an annual licensing fee or certification, whatever they call it. And what you get for that initial, is you get a septic inspection, at least the first year. You get a fire inspection, sometimes once a year, sometimes 3 times a year, depending on the township. You get occupancy limits. You get a good neighbor policy that talks about some of the issues I believe you've already raised, sir, that you're already thinking about doing at Saddle Lake, good neighbor policies. The one that I particularly think is important is, it requires, a short-term rental owner to, assign a local agent to the property and to let your neighbors know who that local agent is. So that people who are most likely to be disrupted by a short-term rental, your next door neighbors, have a number to call. And that local agent is required to live within a half an hour. That's what the other townships are doing, usually within about a half an hour of the property. So there's a lot of safeguards like that, that the townships around us that are regulating short-term rentals, they're doing. They're not making money on their short-term rental programs. No one's making money. They're just covering their costs. what else do I want to say about that? Does anybody have anything at this point? Any thoughts or comments on what I've said so far?
So one thing is that the township loses tax revenue. Tax revenue is based upon population. So every time you have a house that's turned into a short-term rental, you lose tax revenue. So if it was for 4 people, that would be like $8,000, $10,000, correct?
May I ask a question about that?
Sure.
Okay, so if it was a second home for someone else and then it was sold to somebody who turned it into a short-term rental, you would be losing tax dollars?
I
Or are you
understand.
talking about it going from a homestead?
It has to have the
Okay,
homestead.
just to clarify, thank you.
One that can ask on the lakes, because I think this applies a lot to the lakes. Do you have any sense of the proportion of houses on the lakes that are homes?
I do. We have a resident that did some work for us, Anna Vishnikova, took it upon herself to look at Airbnb and VRBO. Can you go to that right now? And we can show you her research where she says they are. We'll come back to my presentation later, rest of it. There we go. So she did some really nice work for us, and what she found on Airbnb and VRBO is where the short-term rentals are located from those 2 sources, and you can see, I was surprised Silver Lake has most of them.
8.
8, yeah, Saddle Lake 9. That doesn't mean we have, I don't think we're saying that this is for sure 100% accurate. This is a really great presentation that went to the VRBO and the Airbnb sites, but there's other sites that we haven't checked. And I don't know if there's a way to have a regular string of rentals without being on these sites, just privately. I don't know. Saddle Lake owners might know better.
I guess my question was a little different. You know, people who are coming to a rental property are vacationers. And the people who come to use a second home are also using it as part of this vacation home.
Uh-huh.
So really, the usage is pretty similar in my experience. And second, we have a place on the island as well, on vacation there. Then we also have a place that we rent out and families come on vacation there. I guess my question is, what percentage of the homes on the lakes are not vacation homes, but actually year-round homesteads?
We haven't looked at that specifically. Do you know, how many homes are on Saddle Lake? Totally even?
Total?
Yeah,
203.
okay. And of those, we were able to identify
On this chart.
It's
says
in the slide.
4.
204.
Not my question. No, your question's not in there, but I thought this would be an important point. We're not talking for the most part about displacing, full-time residents who live on the lake 12 months a year with short-term rentals. And the small number of short-term rentals, I think, have turned what were full-time vacation homes into a different kind of.
I think, and let me just get back to my presentation, because we will have another chance for public comment. But I take your point, and that's what I was hearing from nearby townships. First of all, before any of us got here, this area has always been a vacation area. So let's not forget that, people have been coming here forever. I don't know when we started becoming a zoned community, but we haven't been zoned forever. So there was a point where there was just a common usage before there were zoning laws of using these properties in this way. But we all understand, we have eyes and ears, that what's happened is the corporatization of the short-term rental gig by places like Airbnb, where cottages are being knocked down and much bigger houses are going up, some with lots of amenities. The other townships experience all of this. So that's what no one around us is stopping it. Some townships, I believe, South Haven, put a moratorium in place while they were determining what they could do. And our board may decide that they want to do that too. Just to sort of send a message out, we're just gonna take a break. No new short-term rentals can come into the system until we decide what to do. At the end of this presentation, you're gonna see that we're gonna we're gonna talk about whether the planning commission even should fix this issue or whether it should go to the board. And I'm, so every single township that I talk to that has a short-term rental, so the three are Casco, South Haven Township, and Bloomingdale. All those three, only the village of South Haven passed a zoning ordinance, which is new. You might have been reading about it in the papers recently. And it took them years to get to that, to make it a zoning ordinance, and they have over 500 properties that they're managing. It's a much bigger deal. South Haven Township has about 100 properties. Bloomingdale has about 50. We have at least 32, maybe we're closer to 50 when we look at other sources. But every township supervisor said to me, if I can give you one piece of advice, don't handle this as a zoning ordinance. Because if you do that, you have the risk of grandfathering in current uses that we might not want. The better way to go is what they told me, is a police power ordinance where we're gonna regulate these short-term rentals. We're going to require certain things of them and of the owners to make, because people have a right to enjoy their homes and their lakes and their privacy. So that's what my research showed. I think I've covered most of this. Let's see, key takeaway.
So any though?
I'm almost done.
Okay.
I think I've covered all of this. Yeah, Casper Township, can you scroll on through? There, you go, right there, yeah. We talked about that. And then what does our master plan say about short-term rentals? Master plan does not, next slide. Master plan does not specifically address the issue of short-term rentals. In goal one, though, back to the goal one we talked about earlier this evening, the desire for peace and quiet in our area, preserving that natural environment does emphasize privacy and stable property values and clean lakes. And we promote the protection of lake and water quality, including measures related to wells, septic systems, and shoreline landscaping. And we want to integrate public safety considerations into our long-term planning to ensure both security and safety. So that's what the township master plan, that's as close as they come to talking about what do we do about a short-term rental situation that's maybe gone a little off the rails. So we're gonna talk amongst ourselves. Based on my research, I'd like to hear what Ken has to say. I'm in favor of the planning commission giving all of our research to the board so that they can decide, do they want to put a moratorium in place while they make a decision on short-term rentals? And in my opinion, if they decide to do that, it won't take that long. We don't have to reinvent the wheel there. It's not that hard of a regulation to come up with. So that's really what my recommendation is. What do you all think?
I think our township attorney is leading that way, that it should be a police ordinance, and we should have a period of time, like 6 months, where we just put a halt to everything and not have any new stuff come into the township, and during that period of time, come up with an ordinance.
How are we gonna know if new people are starting short-term rentals?
Well, a lot of the neighbors are providing input.
It doesn't affect, this moratorium wouldn't affect people that are here now. So people have vacation plans going through Labor Day, that type of thing. My understanding is that the moratorium wouldn't stop that, but it would prevent new people from coming into the system. And we are going into the quiet season, and the goal would be to get this done well before next year. We're not really trying to mess with people's vacation plans for this summer. Is that right? Ken, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think someone told me about the end of November, they start booking for next year, and that we'd want to have something sometime in the end of November timeframe.
Okay. What do you think?
Sounds good.
That's it?
My good question is, how are you gonna police this?
Yeah.
Which is maybe another discussion for another time there.
Well, I think Ken has some really good thoughts on that. You want to talk about what you think?
Well, I said that if you have a short-term rental or any type rental, you probably ought to get a hold of the neighbors and require the neighbors to be the watchdogs and basically provide a number to them that from the owner to contact that person to, when they have a problem. And that Elaine's real good when you call her and she seems to take it into what the problem is.
And if there's no response for some reason, maybe if the neighbor calls the local agent,
We
And the
could-
local
we
agent
could set
doesn't-
up a fine process if, that person does not. Warning a couple times and then if it continues, a fine or
you
something.
need to speak up so people can hear you. Um.
Well, you know, see if anyone.
You guys, anybody want to comment on this? Yes. Hi,
So I'm trying to figure out why are we going through all these hoops? I mean, at this point, just find out from attorneys. They're all businesses in the residential area. They're not legal. They're against your regulation, right? Against state regulation technically. And you're trying to create an ordinance, go with the police ordinance. What's the reason? Why did you just ask people in the township to have 2,500 residents here in a township? Because not only Vegas. What residents want? Because I spent just 6 hours. Okay, I just spent 6 hours. And I have almost 70 signatures of people who just want to finish this, put in the ban. If you just ban it and force the current ban basically because they're illegal right now, then there's no grandfathering into anything. It's done. It's over with. There's no clear benefit for the township having those short-term rentals. People have no control over their properties because there's someone in Chicago. It doesn't work with your plan, with your grand plan. You want to keep the area safe and beautiful. You don't want all this here. So why are we going through all of this? What's the reason? If someone can give me a reason why we're trying to figure out something new. Why we didn't just, kill it and move on? People who buy here, you're talking about satellite, okay. People who buy on satellite, they buy for the peace and quiet. That's the reason. You get to do anyone. This gentleman, he can't hear very well. He came this morning in township, okay, because he has a big problem with short-term rental next to his house. Okay, for example. Nobody could help him. He tried to get the ordinance and tried to figure out by himself what he can do, because he's tired. Oh, I don't understand why we're doing that.
thank you.
Sir,
Yes.
can you state your name for the record?
What?
Mario,
Mario.
Marius Falkus,
How do you spell your last name?
FALKUS.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
was there another comment? Did you want to make one, sir?
I called the state police because they active department fence down. And the police officer was real nice. In fact, he even put it back up. He said, well, what do you want to do about it? I said, I could have fixed it myself. It's your principal thing. These people, they didn't come over and tell me they knocked it down. They knocked it down. They got dogs running. They're running around. There's no cyclone fence with dogs or nothing else. I have grandkids that come over my property and swim on my property. I don't even want them around there because of these dogs, and the dogs crying in the house when the people run into South Haven to spend their money. That's nonsense too. Who do I call? The police department says they have no control over nothing over here. That's hard to believe. They say you gotta go to your township. I don't want to be 2010 all the time with all these problems. I have no contact person with this rental property. No phone number for this person or nothing else. I'm sick of it.
Thank you. Are there any, sorry, go ahead.
And what was your name, sir?
Jim Conroy. That knows me.
Okay,
It's just for the record, that's all. Were there other comments? 1, 2, 3.
I was just saying all the problems and everything,
Marsha
Lucas. All the problems and everything else that you talk about with rentals, I know are exaggerated, but even within your community, neighbors that live by you and everything else, if they don't want to follow the rules, you have the same thing, even if it's not a rental next door, and with you, I mean, there would be nice if there was some backup that could help us. I mean, we try to talk to our neighbors and we try to work things out and everything else, but it's just not necessarily the rental places that cause those problems. And when the Airbnbs vet their people and everything else, most people, you know, respect the rules and regulations. Like Jeff said, we're putting out a new, or I saw a copy of what the rules and regulations will be. I mean, if possibly that the people that are doing the Airbnbs, if they had something in their contracts where the people would be fined or they wouldn't have their money or something like that, maybe they would behave better. Or, yes, and I do think it would be good to have a local person within a half an hour. But the problems that you face with them are, you can have the same thing with your neighbors when you live here year round. It's just my point.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a couple of points. One.
State your name, sir.
I'm Jeff.
Thank you.
Jeff.
Oh,
Very sad to hear that there are some really bad apples in the community, in the rental community. I mean, that, you know, I think is something that really should be fixed. And there ought to be ways to prevent people from not renting responsibly and not taking responsibility for the actions of their renters. I'll tell you, not only do we vet our renters and make very clear what they can and cannot do, we are quite willing to kick them out of our property. We feel they're not following the rules. We have somebody who lives within 15 minutes who can come over and take care of the problems if they occur. So I think there really are correct ways to run a rental property, and the people who come to our property are grandparents with kids and grandkids who are coming for the exact same reason that everybody else comes to this area to, you know, form memories and have vacations. And I would second Marcia's, you know, opinion. I mean, we have a cabin on Saddle Lake Island. I've been here for a decade in the community. I've had issues with noise on the lake, parties going till 2 in the morning, you know, lighting, you know, power boats, the whole thing. To my knowledge, none of them are renters. I mean, all of these problems exist in the vacation. I do think that the objective is to create a peaceful environment for vacationers, full-time residents. That some of these things should be addressed, you know, globally to everybody who's coming here, not just targeting some people who really aren't necessarily involved.
thank you. Sir, state your name, please.
Igor Schwargen, I'm on 288 51st Street, Mariusz's neighbor. And I'm here to speak on behalf of Airbnb because I am Airbnb. So I would like to talk about the benefits that Airbnb brings to town. Let's start with the big picture. According to 2023 Airbnb report, guests spent over 50 billion in local communities across the US. That's not just lodging, but the local restaurants, grocery stores, and stations, small shops, and attractions. In fact, for every $100 guests spent, for every $100 guest spent, about $45 goes directly to the local town. Now, imagine a small portion of that money coming into your township. If we take 10 active Airbnb properties here, for each one hosted 50 nights a year, and guests spend an average of $150 per night on lodging and local expenses, they would bring over $75,000 annually into your small businesses without any major development or taxpayer funding. These are dollars that support the family-owned diner down the street, local handyman, or a cleaning company hired by home. Hardware, store where supplies are bought, seasonal activities, and local attractions. Airbnb also helps homeowners in time of inflation. When inflation is high and the housing costs are rising, many residents, especially retirees, single parents, or young couples, use short-term rentals as a way to earn supplemental income and maintain their homes. And it's not just about the money. When visitors stay here, they get to experience your town's charm, trails, history, small town values. It builds positive exposure that hotels simply don't offer. Now, I understand concerns about noise and housing and neighborhood disruption, but these aren't reasons to ban short-term rentals, they're reasons to regulate them. Many towns successfully manage Airbnbs through smart policies, registration requirements, and safety codes. This isn't about turning your town into a tourist hub, it's about giving residents economic opportunity, attracting respectful visitors, and building substantial future.
Thank you.
We get a copy of what he just read.
Would you be able to give us a copy of what you read?
Sure.
You can actually take a picture of it and send it to us if that's easiest.
You know,
Just, we'll put it in the record is what we'll do. Anything written, we like to put it, I've got yours in the record already.
I know, can
Yeah.
I just make two other?
Sure.
Kind of one issue, we actually have a number of people who've already booked for next summer. So, you know, in terms of thinking about moratorium. Actually, most people book their summer vacations a year ahead now, because when you're talking about a multi-generational family, you gotta get everybody to agree on dates, and so we need to be in a position where we have to tell people who have, all vacations that they can. Then I also say, we hire 8 people all summer long from the community who help with our property, and I can tell you, they're quite distraught at the idea that their environment acting as, this possibility goes away. They don't know how they support the thing. So.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Thank you. Before we came in, I looked through the packet and stuff that was listed online and saw the collection from, South Haven's regulations and stuff. And I feel like regulations make sense, but even some of what was in the South Haven, I just kind of wanted to offer a counterpoint to what some of those regulations might be, or like
Okay,
an inadvertent effect. So, my mom lived here for 10 years as her primary residence, and I would come down and help her and stuff like that. I totally see the value of having someone local 15, 30 minutes away if they gotta come and kick someone out. But also if, say I'm in Jensen, like I'm near Grand Rapids, I would come down when my mom's pipes froze or whatever and deal with it. So about an hour away.
Mhm.
It's my family home, in my mind. If there was a regulation meaning I had to appoint someone else, now we're actually taking it like out of, we're turning it more into a business rather than just like, this is Little League season, we don't have any time to come this month anyway. Like, let's let the lake be used, let's make it used here in June or whatever, and then we still can afford it, 2,000 a family and stuff like that. So when you appoint like a property manager, you're gonna give them a little bit, like, they're gonna take 1% of everything off of it, something. And it almost makes it more into a formal business rather than having a short-term thing for here or there, or helping cover the taxes and stuff. It's kind of just an aspect of, I think, like, I guess I think there's a difference between nearby residents that, because a lot of these houses, like we said, aren't people's full-time home. And they come to use it, even if not a renter. Whether they're coming from Chicago or coming from Grand Rapids or Kalamazoo or whatever, to come enjoy the lake. Like, that's their home, right? And so. It's different to me than if someone's in California. Buying it up purely for like real estate speculation, right? Like, I was a few minutes late walking in here because I went by the house and fixed the dishwasher. Because it's my house, right? Like, I'm taking care of the place. I was out fishing and they said that, well, last night I said, I'm coming down tomorrow night. If you can just turn off the dishwasher, I'll come like take care of it. And so. I was just thinking about like how. I think regulations would make sense, but depending on how tight it is. Could almost more formalize it as a business rather than all the talking to me, I just kind of want to bring up that side of things.
I'll tell you, I know how you feel, because our rental property, it was our home as well, and before I came here, I was with our neighbor, Jason, who owns the golf care place, and talking about a tree that he's got a dead limb that's on his side that we're gonna help him get rid of, so it isn't true that people who have rental properties don't care about their properties, don't care about the neighbors, don't care about the community. We do. You really, I hope people don't paint everybody with the same brush.
Are there any other comments? Karen?
We live near a couple of rentals and we can say we've had some people that were renting that were just great. And we've also had people that just didn't know where the lines were and they have trespassed or they have been up late. Dropping the F-bomb and things like that. We have grandkids around. So the landlord cannot always know that before they have someone out. But it also brings in a rotation of strangers. And many of them do not know the lake. Some of them might bring pets. Some of the different places might have rules against pets, but loose dogs or, their boats coming way too close to swimmers, go in the wrong direction. Those are the kind of things that, yes, it could happen even with people living here, but I think the odds of the voting rules and where your lines are, your neighbors are gonna know that. If they're gonna be a jerk, they're gonna be a jerk. But the vacationers really don't even know. And it's very awkward then for the landowners to think that they have to correct the people or tell them you're going the wrong way around the lake or whatever. Harry even had to rescue a renter who apparently rented a boat and ran out of gas. Like, so, I mean, it is different when it's people that are not used to lake life or knowing the rules. Safety is the biggest concern in my opinion. And I don't know how they could vet all that.
Anyone else? The only thing that I'll add, Village of South Haven, again, they're further along and it's a little more, it's a bigger deal. But they did, when they passed the zoning law just recently, they split their rental properties into two classes. And I forgot off the top of my head what the distinction was, except it was number of days. So like if you, like less than 24 days all summer, then you're this type of class 1 versus class 2. I don't know. That might be something that the board might want to think of. But for tonight, what I wanted to do was to give ourselves the benefit of a chance to talk about what we've learned about short-term rentals. And it's been great to have your input too, and ask the board or the commission here, do we have a role here at this point, or do you think it's appropriate to hand this over to the board so they can act on it? Because we don't have authority to pass a police power ordinance, just to be very clear. We can only zoning ordinances, so it's just not something we can do. I'd love your input on that.
Well, I looked at all 4 of the ordinances. I've also looked at one from a lake not even near us, and there's a lot of good things in each one of these, and I don't think they're trying to actually stop people from having short-term rentals. It's more of instructions on if you have it, they require that the owner give rules of the lake, rules of using the house, rules of what's gonna happen if you violate these rules. Actually, some of them have fines in it. If you do this, and this, you're gonna get a fine. Blocking a driveway, not parking in the driveway, parking on the street. It's got all sorts of different categories of stuff. You have too many people, you have more than 1.5, the number of people that there during the day. There's all sorts of penalties for that. And again, most of them, what I've seen is looking for the neighbors to be able to report something, whether it's to the municipality, which normally has a call line. And that call line, then somebody would pick up and take it, or the neighbors have a direct contact to the owner to have someone come take care of the problem. And that would all be under a police order, and it may stop some of the problems we're having, because I hear from one of my neighbors all the time about what a problem he had.
What do you think, Jay?
Yeah, I agree.
Busy taking notes.
I'm taking notes.
How about you?
So my big concern is how you're gonna police this and how you're going to enforce anything. Because it's only 1/10 of 1% of the people that cause all the problems. And if you don't come down on them hard, they're just gonna do it, they're not gonna care. Because tomorrow they're gonna be back in Chicago or wherever, and it's not their problem.
So you like fines?
So fines are, you have to do something.
They're pretty significant, as I recall from the other ordinances, they're like first time fines are about $500, they're not insignificant. Do you remember, is that about right, is that what you recall, about $500 for first time?
Got up to $1,500.
Yep, they did, yep.
I mean, it's the point you don't wanna. You don't wanna have a problem.
You don't wanna have a problem, no,
As far as the zoning ordinance or a police
yeah,
power,
yeah,
I don't think we have a great track record. It's just a struggle to enforce a zoning ordinance, so try the police power.
yeah, other townships have this hotline, but the problem with the hotline is it's very expensive, like $14,000 a year. Is what South Haven Township is paying for a hotline, and all that gets you is a third party who turns around and calls the local agent. So, you know, maybe there's a way we could, if we're gonna move this direction, maybe there's a way. You could do something a little different, like that's why I like your idea, just give it to the neighbors and they have access to the local agent. But, and then what if nobody responds?
But then they contact the township. I mean, it's not.
And if
something-
it requires police,
If you
then it
can't
requires
contact them,
police.
then it's not gonna be done that night, then it's fine for the township to do.
And
it.
if it's an emergency, you call the police.
Yeah.
Are there any other comments?
I actually love the idea of fines. I mean, we've never had an incident that would probably run rise to that low, but I can tell you. If you guys said, hey, if something happens, we're gonna fine you, Jeff and Elaine, I would tell my renters, guess what? We're gonna charge you that money, you know, which would tell them up front that it's
No,
gonna.
they put that in their lease agreement in South Haven, some of them put in,
Yeah.
if we get fined, you get fined.
I certainly.
All right, so for now, does anybody want to make a motion, to, send our research over to the board, for their consideration of a police power ordinance?
You can make a motion.
Well, I make a motion to, send the issue of short-term rentals from the planning commission to the board with a recommendation that they consider a moratorium, while they evaluate short-term rental regulations that are appropriate for our township.
I will second that.
Let's take a voice vote. With Jay, yes or no?
Yes.
Ken,
Yes,
Dave,
Yes,
Kate, yes. Okay, unanimous.
You'd be a little, you were more specific about the moratorium, but I don't know if in your motion you want to be more specific about it.
I really can't, because it's a little beyond what I won't, yeah, I can't, other than I have talked to the township attorney and I said, well, we don't want to scare people who have vacationers that are making their plans, and apparently the way the motion is written, it's like, we haven't seen it yet, but a draft motion would be along the lines of, you know, no more can come into the system. Well, there really isn't a system right now. We want to get one in place. So it's a way to alert the township that we're doing this, because what we actually want is what's happening here tonight, people coming to us and talking to us about what they want to do. It has to be a fair decision that affects all the stakeholders. So I think the moratorium is really for that, to kind of just put everybody on alert. I don't think it's really intended to stop people's plans. But pay attention. I have not seen the wording of it. It's gonna be for the board to take it from here. Yeah,
Why does the homeowner gotta regulate the people renting next door to them? Why is that our responsibility? It should be our responsibility to control the renters. I'm totally against that part of it.
I concur.
I
thank
mean,
you.
you try to talk to, you can talk to them and show your bull in the face, you might as well drop it in a wall.
I think it was more, it's not your responsibility to regulate them, just to call an agent and let them know if there's a problem.
So then,
Well, that's what under what's being talked about is,
And it's two bedroom and now have more people there than you shake a stick at.
We're just talking about, with that agent, under the new,
A contact person there for nothing.
Wh-
I wish I did.
that would be part of this. You would get one. Am I right?
Well, what gives the door?
You would get a name of a person that you're supposed to contact if you have a problem with a short-term rental. If you try to contact that person, and you don't get that person, then it becomes a violation that they didn't answer you. And then the township gets involved. And if they don't provide it to you, that could also be a violation.
What about when they bring their critters up there? Out to around my place? There are dogs in that, there's no fences up there or nothing else, I got another wooden fence. It's just well, Ken, you know the property, it's just a rail fence. You know, and they bring their dogs, they lock their dogs in the house, and the dogs are crying. all over.
You have a very good point. I haven't seen anything in any of the ordinances that I looked at that talked about animals, but I will look into that situation and what can be done.
I mean, hey, I like dogs too, but Jesus Christ, these things are running around all over the place, they're not these or nothing else.
Does the county have a?
There is a leash law.
Animal control?
I thought there was a leash law, yeah.
Tell me there
But
was.
I don't see any of that stuff in the ordinance.
No, I bet like what they call the county if the animals or.
Sure.
Unleashed, yeah, I
Yeah,
think there's a leash law, yeah.
There's state regulation for animals.
I think we could incorporate those concerns into an ordinance, and it's why I'm glad you're here. Because we're listening, we're recording this, we're not done, the process has just started, so stay involved, make sure that you bring your comments forward, because I'm sure the board will do everything they can to be fair and decent about this. The one thing that struck me, doing the background research, was the other townships saying, this has been a vacation world for 100 years. Who are we to think we can come in and change that? We have a right to ask for decent behavior and for property to be respected, but you have a whole different legal battle if you try to change the entire use of an area that for a century now has been used as an area for tourism. But you certainly are within your rights if you've got someone who's misbehaving and not following basic rules. That's what other townships said to me. And I don't know that everybody thinks about that. Before we had zoning laws or anything else, this was a lake vacation property. So to turn it into private only, for example, to try to climb that mountain is a whole legal battle. That would be very difficult, because you're really changing the common usage of the property.
Just one comment. Saddle Lake is not our lake. It's a public lake. So there's no way that you can stop all this. It's a public lake. I knew when I made the decision to live here full time, that it was a residential resort area. You know, when you buy, or you would know when you make a decision to move here, that you're gonna have these things for part of the year or whatever else, but you have all the other benefits. So you weigh one against the other. And like you said, it's 100 years, it's been a resort area, you can't change the laws, you can't reinvent the wheel, in my opinion.
Change what laws? They're currently, they are still not legal. You still have ordinance. By the state, they are not legal. So
Well,
changing what laws?
one question,
Yeah.
how then, South Haven and all the other ones regulate them?
Because they already have ordinance in place. We don't have ordinance in place for that.
But wasn't the police, I don't understand the law.
They just adopted in April.
They just did it, yeah.
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 In the township, they're just new, they did it last year.
It's
Yeah.
not as though, it's not as though when the township did pass the R2 resort ordinance, whenever that was, it's not as though they took the time at that point to say, and by the way, no rental properties. They just wanted they wrote an art, so in my mind, that actually grandfathers in the use of properties. Well, we can disagree and.
No, we can look at the law. We can look at precedent.
We can, and we're-
Park Township, for example.
Yeah.
We can do that.
You can,
Yeah, exactly the same situation, Park Township.
I don't think anybody or dispute that the township could ban subs from short-term rentals if it wanted to. The question is, should it really? And I would hope that we could find a kind of a fair and balanced compromise that, you know, makes owners and renters responsible for the property and the behavior of the neighborhood. And hopefully that'll bleed over into how everybody treats each other, you know, in the community and these vacation properties. And I think it can be done.
Okay, unless there's other comment on this issue, we're gonna move on to the next point on our agenda. Which is to review setback ordinance. So Tanya, you're up. You've asked us to take a look at some zoning. You're not looking for changes so much as you're trying to move things around so it's easier to understand our ordinances. What, is that correct? Could you just help us understand what you want to do here?
Correct, so the setbacks. So most zoning ordinances have the setbacks within the district itself, the district regulations. In this ordinance, you have to go to another section for the setbacks. So I thought it would be very handy to move the setbacks into the district. So like, I only did the R1 district to kind of give an example of like what I was thinking. I did actually go. a
Can you
little
go
bit-
to that? We can bring it up on the screen. Do you want us to have it up on the screen? Would that help you?
Oh, I had it.
I read through it, yeah.
Other people might want.
So just go down to point in the agenda where it says, here, is that it?
With
Yeah, that's
setbacks
it, that's it.
for-
Yeah.
So I
So,
kind of then read the intent. Most of our districts all have an intent in the beginning. And I felt like it was grossly outdated. So I'm proposing to actually remove most of the language that's in there. So the R1 district is, Grand Junction. But then we have one little piece over on 46. And then we have a few other pieces over here on 38. So the R1 district is a very small district in the community. So when we think R1, we would think the town,
okay,
town areas.
Right along the road there.
So to establish, preserve single family district, and then the rest of it. As desired by substantial number of residents. Which are free from other uses except those which are both compatible with and for convenience of the resident, like it just doesn't make any sense. So we could rewrite the intent. We probably should, but most of it didn't make any sense, and then at the very end. It talked about large lot sizes, well, the underlying size is 12,000 square feet. That's not a large lot.
tell me about that. What in what way is it not large? Is it not large enough for
Well,
the parcels?
When I think of a large lot, I think of an acre or more, or 5 acres. So when I think large lot, but if you think large lot is platted lots, then a plat, I guess 12,000 square feet would be large.
So in R1, are they all, and is it 12,000 square feet because it's R1 of these older parcels and they are all at 12,000 feet
So
or less?
most of Grand Junction is a plat, so they were all subdivided under a subdivision way back when the town was established. But the other ones are regular meets and bounds property. So if you're in the district and you want to create a new parcel, the minimum parcel size is 12,000 square feet. I don't think that's a large lot. But that's,
That's not a large lot.
I don't think that's a large lot, so I thought the intent.
Give or take.
Is it?
Is it enough for septic? And I mean, do we need to talk about that? You have a different
Well,
recommendation?
That's not what I'm trying to do.
Okay, okay.
I think that the intent needs to be rewritten. so it's
Okay.
grossly outdated.
So for now, you're not changing the substance, you're just changing,
Well, I did, I'm proposing to remove it all in my draft. We could talk about having different words in it another time. I have it all marked off. too.
Yeah, I can read that. My understanding is that even with the deletions, the gist of the zoning ordinance remains the same. If you're trying to simply clarify the limitations that apply to the lots, like setbacks and size of the parcel and that type
Correct,
of
so
thing.
each district has an intent, so if we go to the next district, they all have an intent. Like the R2 district is one line, and for some reason, this one is a whole paragraph that doesn't make any sense. So I think it should be rewritten. That's just mine. I
Okay,
haven't rewritten what I think it should say, but it's my initial thought. Then moving down, since we are integrating the setbacks into the district, the number B where it says area and dimensional regulations, we would remove number 2. Because we wouldn't be referring to those sections because they're already gonna be in the section. And then number C is the setback district of 403. So C 1, 2, 3. And 4. There's language directly from the setback section. For,
In part C, do you have anything that talks about secondary roads or are they flat setback?
I took what was from the ordinance. Which I had said a few times that my intent was not to
change it.
change it.
Yeah.
I just wanna move them into here. There is platted setbacks, so if you're within a plat. There's a setback for the front setback. And then if you're in an unplatted lot on a private street, there's a separate setback for that. I do actually think the setback should be changed, but that wasn't my initial. That's not my initial thought. So the setback from the front setback, the current ordinance refers to highway. We don't have any highways, we don't have any MDOT roads, so I suggest we remove all that language. So basically, if you're on a county road, a regular local road, the setback is 83 feet from the center line. Which typically would then be a 50-foot setback from the right of way. Which is very typical.
Okay,
And if you're in a plat, so the little subdivision lots. I kind of reorganized the words. To read just basically what the setback is, 58 feet from the center line of roads within a reported plat. Instead of all the other words that were in it before. It's kind of an unusual setback. So maybe. Once we decide we kind of like this format, we can think about. We can actually put some site plans together and actually give you an idea of what that looks like. And some of the things that I've seen approving site plans. And then if you're on an unplatted lot, so if in your regular meets and bounds, but you're on a private street. There are a lot of easements that were established over the time that are private streets or private easements that has a different setback. And then the average setback, which I think is very popular. So if you have a very already built out community and you want to build an addition or something in the front, you could take the average front setback. As long as it doesn't exceed 50%. So if it's 50 feet, it can't be any less than.
and this isn't new, this is what's,
already
this is already in, yeah.
It only applies to the front. So I wasn't sure if there's maybe a thought to have it apply to all of the setbacks or just the front. Because the way that it's written, it's under the front setback and it's only listed in the front setback.
Do you have a recommendation? Rick?
Why, because sometimes the side ones. I'm not really sure why it's only for the front. So,
But didn't we say the front, like on the lake, the front of the lake side?
well, that's a different section.
That's it, okay.
But so the lakes will have their own section, and there is language about the 200 feet also, but that's a different. This is when you're in already an established area. And you wanna build a porch or something and. You can't beat the 50 feet but everyone else is already close, so you can take that
An
average.
average.
So. But I guess it would be easier to measure the front than on the side. How would you kind of take the average, everybody's side setback? Or I guess the rear, you could maybe measure an average. To measure the average of everyone's side might be a little tricky. But when you look at the map, you can look at the back and the front pretty easy and kind of draw a line. Onto the side setbacks. Basically 10 feet on each side, which is language that's already in there. There is this weird provision about. If your lot is 50 feet in width, then the side setback is 5 feet. And then each additional, like if you have 52 feet, then you have. Each additional foot, which I thought was really weird.
Do you run into that much?
Well, there are some smaller lots. But, so in town, there could be a 50-foot wide lot in town. Cause they are the smaller parcels. So then. I think it's a good provision, I guess, cause then if you're smaller, then you get a lesser setback. Will give you. More time, or you wouldn't need a variance, I guess, would be, so it's. It's not horrible, it's just kind of worded different. And then the rear yard is 20 feet, that's pretty common. And then the rest of it, F, is then already what's in the ordinance, the 35 feet in height, the 35% lot coverage. And that's kind of,
None of it.
that's kind of what I got to for. To kind of give you an idea of what my thought was of integrating. The setbacks into the district. This is kind of what I was thinking, so.
Comments?
Well, I think we should go forward with it,
Maybe two.
finalize it.
And then, yeah, I mean, kind of once we get all of the districts maybe incorporated, then maybe we could do maybe some site plans. You can kind of see what the setbacks mean and what they look like. And I could maybe share some of the. Things that I ran into, reviewing the site plans, most of them are on the lake. So
The lots are smaller.
so there are 3 different requirements for lake lot. Depending on what you're building, and that's the most of it.
Well, so to just state it again, the changes that we're looking at. Don't change the substance of the R1.
Correct,
They just make it easier for people to understand.
what the setbacks are.
What
So
the
I took
setbacks are.
Setback from the 403, and then I moved it into 301.
So what's your understanding if we say, go ahead, yeah, make the changes? Do we need to go to a public hearing when no substance is changed?
I have to do all of them.
Okay,
I have to.
you have to get through the whole,
Different, all of the districts are different.
so you have more work to do.
I have more work to do. I wanted to just do one so that you understood what I was trying to do.
Would you anticipate that the rest of the changes would be like this form, not substance?
Correct, except for the lake lots, that we will have to make a decision on what setback you want over to that.
So that would require a public hearing. That's what I'm trying, it all does in your mind.
Yeah,
Okay,
because I am suggesting that text is removed and reorganized,
okay,
so it is we'll have to have a public hearing, yes.
okay. We were wondering about that.
Yes, for sure.
So do we just need a motion that she continue with her work?
I think so. Sounds good to me. What do you think? Did you have any comments?
Sure.
I can try to get the next,
Ken, did you have something to say?
I could do
I don't
all,
think she needs a motion, she just.
I just think she
Oh,
goes
we don't
ahead,
need a-
yeah.
She did a great job
Yeah,
here, I
I
like
think so
it.
too. I like it too.
Tasha, my only question would be on, secondary roads, and I will find out.
what are secondary roads?
secondary roads are the paved roads that are covered by the township and the gravel roads covered by the township.
Okay. Now I put
Yeah.
those under primary.
You have
roads.
primary roads are the county roads.
Okay.
And I
So we
think there's a
could-
different setback for our secondary roads, but let me get with the county and I'll find out.
So we don't wanna have a whole bunch. But if you think that, so,
I actually think flat setbacks is the same as the secondary road, all we have to do is flat setbacks and secondary road,
dirt road.
secondary.
No, I know, what's one? Tell me where around here that there's their dirt road.
18th Avenue, 16th Avenue.
Okay, so those roads that people live on, they should still have a 50-foot setback. It shouldn't be less like the platted ones and be closer to.
Let me check with the county.
Fire farm.
I'll get what they're, what they consider setback, which I think is what these are.
Have to.
Well, they have a road right away. They use, yeah.
66 feet.
Okay, so you're just gonna move on through and
Yeah.
keep presenting these to us.
No, I like it.
I'll put together the rest of them. And then I kind of put a clean one at the end, so you can kind of see what it looked like with all the lines.
Yeah, I like that, yeah.
I did have one discussion to talk about corner lots. So the ordinance right now was worded really weird. It says, except for lots, but 2 or more streets, which in case the side setback of 20 feet is required from the side road right of way. So you have two fronts, you have a corner, so you have 2 fronts. So then, what do you think they're then referring to then the side? Would that be the one that doesn't have the driveway? So let's say your driveway comes off of this, but this road. To the side. I don't like this wording at all.
Why can't they be the same?
Correct, that's what I would like it to be. So you have 2 fronts. Do you then think you have 2 sides, or is one of the other ones a rear?
I'd say you have 2 fronts.
2 fronts, and then what are the other 2? 2 sides, or 1 side and 1 rear?
One side and rear, right?
So we'd have to change we would have to have language that says that, which is fine. We would have to say, if you wanted a rear, then the rear would then have to be basically probably the front of your driveway, and then that's your rear. As an example. It gets
I don't know.
complicated. I
Yeah.
always do 2 fronts and 2 sides, but. But these 2 would be 50 feet as an example, and then these 2 would then be sides, which are 10. As an example, so. I guess that would be something that would be should or clarified.
Well, we have to go through a public hearing anyway, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
so. I think we can put them all together. I don't know if they'll have them all ready for next meeting, but I could at least have the next one if we wanna kind of keep.
Whatever you think is easiest.
So, and the lake one would be. Which is the RO district, they're actually the districts that have waterfront. Because the R1, the R2 district has parcels on the lake. But it doesn't refer to the lake setbacks. But there are lake setbacks in the RO3 and or the 4.03. Whereas the RO district is those brown ones, and those have the specific lake setbacks in the RO district. So that's why there's 3 different ones and. That's
Do you
how
wanna
I-
get input from lake owners on that? Would that be helpful? Do you, I
No,
mean,
I don't think, well, I'll just put together. Point out what is missing, what is, first we need to point out what. Has the same setback. Or the different setback for the same thing.
where there's
And we can then
inconsistencies?
decide
Mhm.
which one to.
Okay.
Which one to pick. But I'm not proposing to. Change it, we would just pick one that's already in here.
Anything else on that?
I would actually like to comment that if there is a the short-term rental ordinance does go through, we do need to amend the zoning ordinance. add the use to the districts that it's allowed in. Then we would have a definition in the ordinance. And then we would add to our like supplemental standards that would then refer to the ordinance number of the short.
Okay. Thank you.
They should still be in the order, if you're going to allow them, the ordinance should also be amended to allow these.
Any questions for Tanya?
Okay.
Okay, so moving on to the proposal letter, we talked a few months ago about the need to take a look at our zoning ordinances as a whole. Most because we've been hearing from our zoning administrators, there's a bunch of, there's a bunch of gaps and some of them are outdated and so on and so forth. On that basis, I did a little bit of research. I talked to the Southwest Michigan Planning. What is it? Yeah, I talked to them, and I got references from Tanya and I talked to 2 out of the 3. Southwest Michigan Planning Commission, who does master plan work but doesn't do zoning work. And then Williams and Works, and I talked to other townships and they all use Williams and Works. I've had a couple conversations with them and asked them for a proposal letter for the cost to do an overview, and they recommended $2,500 to take a look at our entire zoning ordinance. And provide us with a summary of the gaps in our ordinances and where they're out of date and need to come up to more modern times. So I wanted to talk with you folks about that. What do you think about that idea? Is it too soon? I know we've got the master plan, but that's several years off. So the question is, how unworkable are these zoning ordinances? If we get this gap analysis done, are we gonna do anything about it before we, under the current master plan? Is that appropriate? Are we doing things in the right order?
I don't, personally, we just keep picking at it like you do.
So I think seeing what they have to say and then we can then decide. Cause if we do the map, we just did the full master plan.
Yep.
I don't see us rewriting the whole thing
Not
again
for a while.
in the 5 years, so I think that the goals and objectives will mainly stay the same.
Mhm.
So I think if we were to do the zoning ordinance, then the master plan, I don't think it would be out of order.
What do you think? Everybody else?
Are you recommending that we get this review?
I think if you heard it from a professional, because somehow people aren't believing me that the ordinance is outdated, so I've tried.
Fine, I believe that.
But I think they will put.
I think we just got a good example of it.
A very detailed analysis of it. Actually, they just did the South Haven Township one.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was a very detailed list of what was outdated in the ordinance and what needed to be.
You see this as a value then to the
Oh,
township?
definitely, yes.
And the way they formatted the results, is that something that would be easy for you to take and put into the plan to implement?
So, no, so they're gonna say stuff like. You should add this to the like solar farm as an example, because. We don't have a solar farm ordinance, so it'll be things like that. But they're not gonna give us the text to put in here, it's just an analysis of. I feel like there's stuff in here that still refers to the old act before 2008. So everything was supposed to be updated after 2006, the zoning enabling act, I think there's still references.
Before we even had a
before that.
planning commission, I think.
Before that,
Yeah,
in here
yeah.
that through. A lot of it, there were a lot of text amendments that then make other sections. They refer to like other number sections that don't exist anymore, so there could be a lot of that. Stuff like that. But they're gonna say. What is lacking, what is good, what they recommend you should do. Then you would then have to then amend the ordinance yourself with new text. Unless you hired that company to then do.
And to your knowledge, this type of review's not been done in, say, the last 10 years at least? Or ever?
No. I don't even know that I kind of put one together, just. I didn't even put one together.
I think it'd be a nice lift, sort of have a third party come in and take a look at things and give us their sense, so we're not in our own little bubble here.
I can provide the South Haven one if you'd like to see what that looks like.
The South Haven, what?
The South Haven zoning ordinance.
Oh, I think it's not line, but yeah, I think it is.
Well, their analysis of the zoning.
Oh, gotcha, their gap analysis.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
So they are redoing their zoning ordinance and they also provided this analysis, which I'm guessing is relatively the same thing. And then you can kind of see what it looks like.
Well, I'm in favor of doing this. I'm gonna make a motion to, employ Williams and Wood to do this analysis. For $2,500, which would be a complete review of our zoning ordinances and a summary of where we have gaps and out of date ordinances and suggestions on how to move forward. Is there a second?
I will second that.
You want to take a vote? Ken?
But we do have money in the budget for this. There's $8,000 for professional services this year. So that's should cover it. I put that extra in there.
You vote yes?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes. Kate, yes?
Jay, yes.
Jay, yes. Okay, so I will retain them. I
Well,
will,
this is when that was a roll call vote. Just so you know, when you do your meeting minutes,
Oh.
this will be a roll call.
none.
Okay,
Okay. Moving on to, we have a PowerPoint on Township Parks and Recreation. So we've been a pretty new commission here. This is our third meeting as this particular group. We've handled a lot of serious issues that have come before us. But this is one that we're choosing because it's actually in our master plan. We already went through the goals earlier this night about the master plan as they related to the PUD, but the fifth goal of the master plan is Township Parks and Recreation. And we just want to talk a little bit about what it is that people do want from the perspective of the master plan. So next slide. First of all, let's talk about what we have. And we talked about this a little bit last week, but I wanted it in writing, so it's in the record. This is from our master plan. We own one park, which is the 11 acres behind us over here. As you know, this park abuts the Kalamazoo Trail. It's an open field that can be used for basketball and softball games, but we're not doing anything else with it right now besides mowing it. Is that correct? Yeah. We also own 4 land preserves, 2 with conservation easements managed by the Southwest Michigan Land Conservancy. I think my property is one of them. I abut one of those. And you really can't do anything with them. You can barely walk in them, because the Southwest Michigan Land Conservancy, at least for my property, it's just heavily wooded. They don't maintain it. I don't know where the other one is. We have, and then we have one 40-acre parcel, don't we, that was gifted to us by someone in their will that we owned. It's 40 acres by the transfer station, isn't it? At the end of the road at the transfer station?
Oh, I think you're talking about the one by Silver Lake.
Am I?
There's a 40-acre.
Is that where it is? Okay, I wasn't sure where it was. So, of those, the ones, that's sort of what we have. We have 4 land preserves and we have 1 park. That's our inventory. So if we could go to the next slide, please. When I went, and you can see this for yourself, when you go through the master plan, there were a lot of questions that were asked township residents back in 2020. They were all over the place. The reason you've got that yellow circle at the end is no matter what the question, there was no response with 59.7% of the vote. This was by far, of all the questions asked about anything you could ask, what do you want in your township? This one, 59.7% was by far the highest number. People want safe walking and biking along town streets. So that's more like sidewalks. Okay. And then here's the next slide is master plan goal 5. This is what it actually says. that, our residents want us to continue to seek funding to improve existing township-owned land and to identify and promote the availability of public access for township residents and to encourage private development which retains natural space, open space, and provides recreational facilities. So the last thing I wanted to show you was in the next slide. About 2 years ago, taking this information from the master plan, about 2 years ago, there was an opportunity for a grant, which we applied for. And we got an architect to draw this up for us, this idea of a park behind Township Hall here. And I don't know if you've ever seen it. We didn't get the grant, not because it wasn't a good grant, but because there was not enough money for all the grants that were submitted. And what this plan does is it primarily is a perimeter walking path with playground equipment and a soccer field. And it connects the park to the Kalamazoo Trail as well. And there's some other ideas in here like a community garden. But it just occurred to me that maybe it's time to open this discussion up a little bit and see what the public wants to do. We haven't really had an active public conversation since this master plan was written with people's input on what do we actually want to do. The one thing I wrote the grant application for this, and one thing that struck me was I had to look at demographics in order to write the grant, and I was struck by how young our township is, how many children there are in our township. And this was a COVID grant. We were supposed to show how in the grant application, we were supposed to show how the township suffered during COVID and how this grant would help a future pandemic. And the case that we made was that Bronson Health did a survey of our area, and there were teen suicides. There were some really awful things that happened with our children. They were stuck inside for 2 years. They had nowhere to go. And we made the argument that, well, in a different world, if this pandemic were to happen again, at least if we had a park like this, where you could walk around an open path, you could see your friends, keep a safe distance, and have a place to go to at least see other people. We don't have anything like that here. We have no place to take a walk except the Kalamazoo Trail. And I think I've already said this in public. I mean, I personally would not walk on the Kalamazoo Trail by myself as a 5'2" woman. I don't think anybody trying to care for a senior person that wants to take them out for a walk would use the Kalamazoo Trail. Moms with babies and strollers wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable on the we have no place to take a walk. And study after study talks about how it's just so good for your mental health to have a place to go take a walk. And I don't know how easy it is to put sidewalks in our few little residential areas, but that only helps those residents. It doesn't, whereas a park with a perimeter parkway would help everybody. Anybody could use this parkway. And then the last thing I'll say is I've learned recently, I talked to Kurt from Van Buren County, and there are grants available. But for us to get one of those grants, we have to come up with a 5-year park plan that gets approved by the DNR. And then once we get that done, which we should be able to do pretty quickly if we want to do it, we would be eligible for up to 3 different grants that are out there to help us. They have different requirements, matching requirements. It's also possible that we could figure out that if we listen to people, that there's something we could do right away. You know, we could figure out a way to pay for a perimeter walkway. It can't be that big of a deal. So I just wanted to put it out there, but really what our job is to get public input on this. So first I'd like to know what your thoughts and comments are, and then I'd really like to hear what people here have to say.
Oh, I'm certainly not gonna oppose it. I think it's a great idea. However, I have to think about our community, and a couple months ago, we had a whole room full of people that did not want to spend any money on the fire department. So do you think you're gonna get those same people willing to spend money on a park?
Actually, the master plan is pretty clear that for the priorities that are established in the master plan, which is blight, Parks and Recreation, keeping the area nice. People are actually, it's in the master plan. You can see that they're actually willing to pay more in taxes if they have to. I'm not saying we would. I'm just saying, I think there's people want certain things. And they're willing to pay to get it. Blight and a place to walk, some place to go for recreation.
Yeah, I think you should go forward with it. But when it comes down to money.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna have some resistance.
Understood.
Yeah, I think we gotta have a future plan that looks at maintaining what we get if we do get a grant, and that what percentage of the grant do we have to pay for the cost? Are they gonna require 20% down?
Some are 25, some are 50, depends on the grant. Yeah.
It's gonna be. Well,
Some people walking in the park right now.
Are there?
maybe we ought to have a public hearing about recreation.
Well, again, I just went through my training, okay, and there's a big section in the training on how to be a good planning commission. That it talks about public comment, and a hearing is a good thing, but. What the training said is kind of like the last way to get public comment. You really want to get public comment if you can in other ways. So one example would be for us to create a committee. And invite people to be on this committee that represent multi-generations. So we're not just getting seniors and we're not just getting young folks. We have a nice cross section of the community, people that actually want to talk about what can we do here? What makes sense? That would be a great place to start. Another thing to do would be something called a charrette, where you get all your stakeholders in the room. But that would kind of require us to have a plan to show them to get ideas. So that takes a little more work. Maybe a good place to just start is a committee, see if we can't recommend names amongst ourselves, of people we know that would be perhaps interested in helping us with this and build support from the residents up. Do you have thoughts on that?
It's beneficial.
Thoughts on that?
Go forward.
Yay? No thoughts? Are you against it?
No, I'm not against.
What do you guys think?
So don't fall out of your chairs. So I don't know how often you hear this, but I actually think as a short-term rental owner, I wouldn't mind paying. If there's a regulation and you guys determine that there's the cost of enforcing is X, it wouldn't bother me at all to add something onto that is earmarked for something like a park fund. I think that's a very nice way for people who are doing short-term rentals to get back to the community, and I think a lot of people would like to do that. So you may never hear that again, somebody showing up saying they actually want, the township to take some money from them, but that would seem like one way to, because what you want is a stable source of, both to build up a fund to do any capital improvements that you will run for our park, and as Ken points out, maintain and improve over time, whatever he's in.
Any other comments?
I can tell you, a lot of parts, if you look for grants, I would look for something that has a power course.
A power course?
Power course, it's usually where there's different stations for doing sit-ups or doing pull-ups, and there's a lot of grants for power courses.
Okay.
So
Thank
it's
you.
something to add to a walking courses,
Mhm.
exercise stations within that course.
Okay.
I actually have a 8-year-old. With doing this technology, I don't like when he's on the TV watching So I actually drive to martial arts. I go all the way to Playwell. And then if he wants soccer, or if I want him to play soccer, I go to Kalamazoo. And if I want him to swim, then I go all the way to Allegan. So it will be nice to have something here close in town that we can, come here and do some sport. Not just, yeah. And I was thinking, also, gyms are not around here, so we can also rent that, if you have a soccer, we can rent that, so we can do the maintenance like that, to pay for the maintenance or something like that. So no, just apply to the property taxes, because I mean, right now, the property taxes are high. But instead of try to attack, as he say, try to do, for the short rental, maybe we can, take some money there. Or it can be like a you rent it, then you can get some money there, so you can, do the maintenance or all the stuff. Not just apply to the property taxes, because I mean, right now, I feel sorry for the old people that they're living in the area. Because property taxes are very high and they have a fixed income, and that is very hard to see how they cannot pay anymore, so.
What's your name, please, for the record?
Fiorella McNamara.
Go ahead, sir.
I was just wanted chiming in on what you were saying about like a way to pay like renting or whatever, for a few years, I worked for the McDowell Bank marketing department of like the New Zealand Town area, and like even the corporate thing, we did like a kickball. And you just rent the baseball field or whatever, but having a gazebo where you could have a place where you could reserve it for the day would be.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't, on its own, probably pay for the maintaining it, but like I said, there'd be at least a way where there's a rental fee coming in to help mow or paint and strike stuff that's soccer field and stuff like that. A shaded spot to have a big party or an event, would be a way to have.
A little bit of revenue, maybe.
Small pavilion or.
There is one out there now, but it is pretty small. Karen.
I like the idea of a park, but I think Dave really has the pulse of, community right now with the funding part of it. So I'm hoping that somehow there's good news that comes out on the 20th from the open house, because this is yet another thing that the people might want, but the money has to come from someone. So.
Is there any harm with, we're not in a hurry. Is there any harm with getting that committee, trying to get a committee going and get some ideas going and just, step by step, move through it and see if we can't get some agreement on if we were gonna do a park, would it be the backyard 40? I don't know where else we would do it that makes sense. This is open, you don't have to clear it. The other thing, as I was writing the grant and I realized, we talk a lot in the township about blight and how to clean it up and what do we do with the downtown space, and it keeps getting pointed out to me that, downtown's never gonna be a vibrant downtown in the sense of Benville or something, because we don't have lot sizes to accommodate the infrastructure. We don't have septic, we have septic, we don't have sewer. It makes it hard to even you can't even bring in a laundromat, I understand, or even restaurants are hard to put up and down there because of the infrastructure. So what do we do to create a community hub here? Well, we have Township Hall and we have 11 acres. And if we develop that in a way that suited our residents, it really makes the Township Hall an anchor even more so for the community, and a place to not only do your township business, but to see each other and recreate and create community in a way we just don't have anything like that right now. And you can do it in phases. You could, that's the purpose of a 5-year plan. You can start small and work your way through.
What was the size of the grant that we asked for?
The one that, $500,000, wasn't it? Was it $500,000? It was $500,000, yeah. Yeah, that was for the whole thing. So. I don't know that this grant quite like that. That was an unusual grant. What I'm suggesting is we just start talking about it and we start getting input on it, and we got some good ideas tonight. Is there anyone to talk tonight that might like to be on an advisory committee and help us plan? Because it would be helpful to have. If you do, just let me know, okay? Send me an email and let me know. And we'll get something started. And why don't you guys think about it, and do you want to give me some suggestions? To form a committee, people you think might want to invite that might be interested in.
I have to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
No.
Ken? No?
Full speed ahead.
Okay. Well, I will hopefully hear from some of you. I'll put something on Facebook asking for people that might be interested in being part of a advisory committee for Parks and Recreation. And next month I'll let you know what I hear. Okay,
So moving on.
so now we're down to the planning, now we're to our last big new business, which is the Planning Commission budget recommendation. You want to just bring that up?
I basically use this year's budget for next year's budget. The building inspectors and electrical inspectors last year brought in about $30,000, so I put each one of those at 16,000. The zoning administrator gave us a list in February. Your top 3 or top 20, I think it ended up being. And I think the 18,000 was representing the amount of work that you would have to do with that and other stuff that's probably gonna be asked of you this year. And I'm asking that we keep it at that. She may not use all of it, but if it's there, we have it. She is efficient. She does things fast and well, and it's a lot cheaper than our previous one, but if we need something, or if she needs some extra help, that still can fall under that salary line. And the rest of the stuff is just minor costs that we have. Planning Commission professional services, I kept that up. We may need attorney fees next year. We may need them some this year. And we may do more work on getting recommendations on our zoning ordinance. So that's why that stayed at 8,000. Training and conferences, I know we're pushing everybody for that. I don't know where everyone's with their classes. I got it, Dave's got it, Kate's got it, and I don't know where Frank or Jay are, but getting those done, that's a good thing. And there's other classes that come up, so I left that at 2,400. Printing and publishing, if we end up with a lot of public hearings to make change to our zoning ordinance and that's probably not an unreasonable thing. We also got notifications, letters go out, that also is a cost that we have to incur. And then for the zoning board of appeals, they don't have much work, and I put that in here just so that everyone can look at it. Dave's on the zoning board of appeals. And the equivalent to the money there, I think, is up to 3 meetings. And that's about all I have on the budget.
And so this is my first planning commission budget. So if, for example, we got through last year or next year and we needed to move money around, like we didn't need all that printing and publishing, do we go through an amendment process? Is that what we do in order to move it from one category to another?
The same department, you can move it freely in the department.
Without a public?
Because we do it by department line item.
Okay, thank you. I have no questions about it.
Would you have to change it to like your general ledger of how you adjudicate it? You wouldn't have to change this form, what do you mean? Is that what you mean? This?
Yeah, would I have to go through a public process to move money around within our budget? From one category
You're
to-
looking at my work spreadsheet.
Right.
Our real budget that comes out of BSNA. And the numbers will go in there. No, what I do is I come up with the supervisors. What I recommend, township board. Increases or decreases as they see fit, based on discussing each line item.
I think you have $24,000 in this, you could then move that
Okay,
around.
Okay.
That'd be my
thanks.
sense of opinion.
That would be for your salary.
Yeah.
Other thoughts, comments? Nothing? Are you comfortable? Do you want to approve the budget?
Well, you guys can look at this, and if you do see something, get back to me. I'm looking at some time around August 3rd of having one last final review of the whole thing
Well, August
before I
3rd.
submit it to the
It's
township.
already August 11th.
Huh?
It's August 11th,
What is today?
August 11th.
13.
Yeah, probably
13th, pardon me,
after the 19th,
Okay.
sometime shortly after the 19th.
Well, I'm fine with it. I don't have any other comments and I won't. I have to kind of just get through this year and experience it. I think Dave's the only one that's been here for a while. I get more interested in what you had to say.
I've never been that involved with it, and there's always been enough money, and it's not been a problem.
Okay. You agree?
Yeah, it's new to me, so.
Yeah, it's new to me
yeah,
too.
I'm
Yeah,
taking notes.
okay.
Sasha, you're, feel free to comment too. Send me something if you see something that doesn't seem like a line.
Last agenda item is, Tasha, do you have any comments on your zoning report?
I don't.
I have one question for you.
Okay,
So I looked at it and I looked at the June report. So how do we easily start tracking which zoning for what properties actually have permits issued? So we can start tracking.
that's a different report,
Did I get it?
no?
Do I ever get it?
The board gets it.
The board gets it. Okay.
The board gets the building and the electrical permit report.
Do they get it every month?
They get it every month.
So I need, okay, so if I wanted a list of all of the current permits, how would I do that? Look at a bunch of reports and put it together?
Ask those reports and they would give you one for each month.
It's just, okay, so I don't have to separate anything out of the report, it's just all zoning. Could you just CC me
Two different
possibly?
things. The
Okay,
building report are building permits that are issued. This has zoning permits and it says ZP on it.
that you gave me for today. Okay. All right,
I could.
there was one on there of those that I
I
was
said
wondering,
on my report, I could maybe put zoning permits like together, so you don't have to read the whole report.
I looked at the report for today and it was, I was about halfway down and I saw one says open permits code violation. Is that a zoning? Do you know what that's, is that building permit? Is that, so I can't tell what that is.
No, that somebody, a real estate company called and asked if the property is for sale. And they called to ask if we had any open permits at.
Okay, okay, so I have to learn how to read the reports, yeah,
The title company was asking
okay,
those questions on this particular property,
okay.
because it's probably going up for sale.
Okay, well, so we don't get the zoning report yet, when it comes to zoning by, pardon me, build, I'm making a mistake, I'm not using the right language. The building permit
The building
report,
permits
yeah.
that are issued go to the board with the bill.
Would it be possible just to add me on as CC, just going forward, so I just get them and
Like, mail it,
email?
I mail it,
You actually mail it?
mail it to the township with the bill.
Oh, okay,
We have, like, every month, there's the bill and the checks, it
Well-
goes to the, whomever opens the mail.
well,
It'll be Ruth.
I think Ruth gets it and it gets distributed internally,
okay.
because the treasurer's gotta have all the checks to deposit and all the backup to know what she's depositing it for.
It just would be helpful if I had a ready list, especially if we're gonna start tracking things a little bit better. And we're going by properties and wondering if something has a permit or not. And I don't have a list of the outstanding building permits.
The clerk has the list,
The clerk has the list.
send it to the clerk.
Okay, so can we help me figure out how I get the list? I have to physically come down here and ask for a copy of it every month? Is that what I do?
Good to ask the clerk, send you a copy,
Okay,
yes.
all right. Any other comments?
Nope.
Okay, all right, so, we have no other reports. Is there any other public comment? Okay, then this meeting is adjourned at 9:01. Thank you for your participation.
You wanna go to the board report?
I didn't get board reports.
Report.
You didn't give some me. You didn't give me one.
What?
I didn't get a board report.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you want to make a board report? Because that's a.
Give Kate your email. Let's see, can you write it down?
Yes.
Can you write it down?
Did you have something to say?
Yeah.
That covered everything?
Did you mean to give me a report? You didn't give me a report, right? Yeah. I'm not scolding, I just, I was asking, I just wasn't.
This was expected.
So, you know, I'm sure you're gonna get one.
And can you tell me your, how to spell your name again? Is it FIOR?
Want to talk to any of us how to do that?
I almost had it right, FIORE.
Yeah, I think.
That's what I had. Okay, Fiorella and McNamara. Thank you.
I'm glad it's you and not me.
I think we've gotten through several of things in 3 months. I think it's gonna get started unless something pops.
What's gonna get more?
I think.
What we can do-
We just get the company at a time. like-
Yeah.
Let's get all the training.
Sure.
This circuit's a lot.
Yeah.
Just when you think it's, when somebody will come out there, I don't wanna put it.
Go to the commercial area.
Well, these are, they got documents.
Thanks, you guys.
Fiorella's email.
Oh, I'm so glad. Okay. Is it being aired tonight for you?
Yeah, I would say I got, I'm getting the hang of it more, so
Good,
it's
good,
not so
good.
overwhelming, but it's still hard to actually think about what's being said and write down everything that other people are saying.
Yeah.
I have to think about it.
Well, it's always being recorded.
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
helpful. I'm secretary for a different organization and, I use that. Then I keep relaxed at the meeting all the
Yeah,
time.
Yeah.
But
I don't want
some of them figured it out.
After about 2 or 3
You
years.
gotta get a list of the buildings.
I have my.
I would be too.
I would,
Yeah.
I have
That happened.
some runners that I've had for 25 years.
Well,
we have that too, like I was saying, For next year, we already have a bunch of.
I think it's workable.
I need to.
I don't.
These are silly.
My phone number is right on.
They're not tracking it. So we got together. I just.
Yeah.
Went to meeting and I took notes.
Part of any group.
And,
I want to
and
be respectful.
we took-
but it's for the
we made a
future.
process.
I think for-
Tanya.
Well, like I said, I'd like to see a
Different.
committee.
And I
Yeah,
started a
that'd be-
spreadsheet.
You bet, I don't want to have.
I actually need it. I actually need it. We're gonna give. And I'm gonna for every month. How we're progressing on lights, planes and building without permit in place. Building. It's hard to do building permit in place without permit.
$50.
Yeah.
So, okay, let me see what I can do. I'll talk to Kara and.
Yeah, just get us all.
It'd be helpful. wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, you got it. That's yours.
Ken gave that to me.
Okay. And you have an electronic copy, probably not.
That's kind of.
Thanks, you guys. I know it was a lot,
Yeah,
but I don't have a lot of control over that.
Right.
But I think it's gonna get easy.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
So thank you.
You got the meeting.
We'll have our number.
So, thank you. I felt like I did more talking than I wanted to do.
Well, that's your job.
Oh, you guys are supposed to say stuff.
My consideration, one child, my thing. Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, I think it's over, but I mean, if you were to pop up again, I'm not worried. One of the things that I got through this training was that's my mindset. That's why last week's minutes were so intense, because I'm learning.
Excellent.
Our record is what was before.
Thank you.
So it has to be right, so.
I was very impressed. I haven't been to a meeting before, but I thought
I was very impressed.
Everyone good?
Thanks for coming and stay involved, okay?
Yeah.
We really need everybody.
Yeah.
Better decision that way.
No, I agree.
Thank you.
Did you? How are you doing?
Ken is going around, but township road by road.
Yeah, I know, and we've had a discussion about it.
Does that not good?
Wait, what's that? Ken was going around?
Process and resign people, particularly children that. So then you let them, you don't run ahead the very next day. And part, no.
Side, when they have.
No, Harry.
That they
Gotcha. Okay, so, you think that was stuff.
Well, at least it starts with a three.
So, yeah, no, we had a conversation. That is experience, so it's just all day. Yes, he did 12 things like this. You get through them all, categorize them. No. Let's. No, there's little Mario.
Over on his other
There's
side,
something to do.
what they have,
You
you
just
just.
got it.
They-
That's why I'm not this people.
Done some of these mistakes, all.
So we were just trying to process and.
They go like this, they get it all.
Forward, when we get things up, right?
Probably.
They- So building without a permit, we have a process in place, not for. And make it. But they were ready.
Yeah, but you know, it might help if he has a list like this. Around me, there's always just dilapidated buildings, so it should be fine.
Yeah.
Tell you that this is an open meetings act violation. Oh, is this on?
Very true.
Should turn this off.
Is there
Okay,
laptop
yeah,
on?
thanks for stopping. I wanna, there's so much of movies, 2 out of 3 here.
Once you have a list, then they,